Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about endotoxins and exotoxins. So for exotoxins, we can see that there are three subcategories. We have AB toxins, cytolytic toxins, and super antigen toxins. But first off, exotoxins are produced by gram-positive bacteria and gram-negative bacteria, in fact. But these exotoxins are usually proteins that are secreted by the living bacteria, opposed to endotoxins, which I will talk to you about in a second. So these are extremely potent toxins. So they'll target specific cells. So this could be blood cells, nerve cells, just to name a few. And they will also target some processes within your body. So protein synthesis, signal transduction, neurotransmitter release. And then these are obviously, or not obviously, but these are the toxins that are usually found in toxoid vaccines. So toxoid vaccines are usually just harmless toxins that are, of course, put into a vaccine. Your body will then be trained up to fight off these toxins the next time that you're infected, if you do get infected, right? And now when we're looking at the three subcategories, we see that we have AB toxins. So AB stands for, it's two separate parts. So the A would be active enzymes, or the active enzymes within the toxin, and then the B would be the binding component. So the active enzymes are what are actually causing the damage to the cell. The binding component is what is binding to the specific receptors on the cell, which is in return what allows the active enzymes to actually work. AB toxins are by far the most, or are the deadliest toxins there are. But like I mentioned, there are toxoid vaccines, antibiotics, your body's own antibodies have potential to fight these off. So there is some hope, but they are the deadliest toxins there are. So next up we have cytolytic toxins. So cytolytic toxins, oh boy, these are a little bit complicated. So they disrupt plasma membranes. I forgot to mention that. These are otherwise known as membrane disrupting toxins. So they can do this through one or two mechanisms. They can do this through pore formation. So the pore formation is essentially when they punch holes down into the membrane. Now, on a broader molecular level, this is when the toxin monomers, around maybe up to 50, oligomerize, which means they kind of come together. This will form something called a prepore, which then undergoes a large conformational change, which then allows beta hairpin regions on the protein to kind of punch downward into the membrane. Beta hairpin is a structural element on each of these monomers, and it's what's actually kind of creating that whole, or when all of them come together, it creates something called a beta barrel. It's called a beta barrel, if you can believe that, and it'll create that pore within the plasma membrane. This will obviously cause important ions and stuff like that to leak in, leak out. So it essentially makes the cell wall very leaky. It can lead to cell lysis. So the second mechanism is a lot simpler than that, though, in a sense. Essentially, they use phospholipases. So phospholipase is an enzyme that will digest phospholipids on the plasma membrane, which then again kind of makes it more permeable, and it'll destroy the cell membrane. So next up we have super antigen toxins. So super antigen toxins, in the best way that I can explain it, essentially create cytokine storms. So cytokines are pro-inflammatory molecules within your cell. They're immune signaling pro-inflammatory cells that your body will release. These super antigens will cause this, and when all these cytokines get released into your body, you'll have some pretty nasty side effects. You could have high inflammation, organ failure, toxic shock, low blood pressure, blood vessels will start to leak out. In terms of how it actually works, they will cause non-specific activation within your T cells. So around 20 to 30% of your T cells will actually be used up when they're not necessarily supposed to be used for that antigen. So instead of just the specific T cells responding, they will activate non-specific T cells, and it'll cause the cytokine storms. All these cytokines will get released, and it'll create all these nasty side effects. Finally, we have endotoxins. So endotoxins are from gram-negative bacteria, specifically dead gram-negative bacteria. So gram-negative cells have an outer membrane, and within this outer membrane, they have something called lipopolysaccharides. And this membrane is rich of those lipopolysaccharides. Within the lipopolysaccharides, kind of in it, and I illustrated it here, we have lipid A. So lipid A is actually the toxic part within these lipopolysaccharides. So when they die, they will release this lipid A. And now the reason why these are actually toxic is that they will cause a wide body kind of reaction, a general reaction within your body. It's kind of similar to how super antigens, or the same symptoms, I suppose, as super antigens, is that there will be a drop in blood pressure. It could lead to shock. It could lead to vasodilation, inflammation, fever, stuff like that. The reason why lipid A is actually toxic is because it'll activate macrophages, which will release cytokines, which will cause fever, which will cause inflammation, which will cause your blood vessels to dilate and to leak out, for your blood pressure to drop. So obviously these endotoxins are negative. All these toxins are negative. I don't even know why I mentioned that, but compared to exotoxins, there's a lot less to understand, I suppose. But exotoxins come from gram-positive and gram-negative living bacteria, whereas endotoxins come from the lipid A portion of a gram-negative bacteria, kind of as like a last Hail Mary to throw out into your body and to make you feel sick. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something. I hope I made this super easy to understand. I know it was a lot. It's definitely a lot for me to go over and for me to learn, but I hope this was helpful. So yeah.